Hi, everyone. This is Kim, and today I get to talk to you about epigenetics, my favorite subjects. So let's just look at that word. Epi means around, genetics, our genome. So bottom line is epigenetics is the study of how our environment, that is anything that happens in our life, can impact our genetic destiny. What do you know? And since I'm on Zoom, I'm going to do something fun, and I'm going to share with you just of a presentation that I actually gave at a nursing conference that speaks to epigenetics and might give you some more in-depth understanding about how our lifestyle has a huge impact on our genetic destiny. And when I say lifestyle, I mean that we do. So we have way more power than we thought over our health, which is a big message of mine. When we're teaching about how to create health, then we realize that our life has a lot to do with how to create health. And that's really because there was some belief, and certainly when I was in medical school, that your genes are destiny and there's nothing you can do about it, and we're victims of our fate. But that is not. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to have some fun here, and we're going to talk a little bit about epigenetics. So control of genetics, that's what that word epi actually means, control above genetics. And you remember, if you've been around a while and you remember that theory of genetic determinism, where there was nothing we could do about our genes. They were pre-programmed and we are victims of our hereditary. And then came the Human Genome Project, which completely surprised everyone. Human has only about 23,000 pairs of genes. How could that account for diversity? So that moved to this whole new understanding that we are not of our genes. And so the study of epigenetics is the study of the way the expression of certain traits. So we have certain heritable traits, but that expression can be modified by our environment. That's a big message in health promotion and wealth, that we actually have the ability to modify the expression of our genetic without a change in DNA sequence. So that's really important to know. The DNA sequence itself doesn't, but the expression of the genes, switching them on and switching them off. So today's science of epigenetics really does show how our environment and our choices in our life can influence our genetic code and that of our children, because some of these shifts in expression of our genes can get transferred from generation to generation, which is also exciting. So molecular biology actually has shown the fluidity of the human genome. Don't you love the word that it's fluid? It's not fixed, it's fluid. And the environment has to do with that shift. And one of the reasons I wrote Is Your Lifestyle Killing You is to have so much ability to shift our expression, our health, and our dis-ease through our lifestyle. So I don't like the analogy of the gun, I understand, but the expression is genes may load the gun, but the lifestyle pulls the trigger. So there is a term that you're going to hear about, which is the exposome, which is another way of saying it, but in scientific terms, you'll hear it called the exposome. And it's actually the sum of all your genetic exposures in an individual lifetime, starting from the moment of conception, not just when you were born, but everything that the mother does during pregnancy has some impact on the expression of heritable traits. It encompasses everything: the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, social interactions, our lifestyle choices, and the health of our parents at conception. I am a big one for us to be talking about preconception health, not just pregnancy, prenatal, but preconception, because the health of the mother, father impacts the genetic expression, which then gets passed on. So it really is going to be talked about a lot more now that we know about epigenetics. So let's have a little look at these, dig deeper into what those environmental impacts on epigenetics are. So exposome is often classified in three different ways. So specific external environmental, general external environmental, and our internal biological factors that can impact the expression of the genome. And it is believed that genes cause less than percent of a disease. And so the exposome, these environmental factors, can drive around 90% of our genetic expression. So let's have a look at some specific environmental factors and all things that we cover in our wellness work. How we move or don't move, the kind of water we consume, or maybe we don't water. Consumer and personal care products, because what we put on our skin gets absorbed into our body, and that then can impact the expression of our genes. Lifestyle choice, smoking, chemical pollutants, social and psychological influences, which is really interesting. There's some really good research on pregnancy and a mother's emotional mental state during pregnancy and how that might impact the child's emotional and mental health. So it's amazing work that is being done in this field. And then the parent's health at the time of conception, the method of act. So if it's a vaginal or a C-section, and that has a lot to do with the microbiome, which we'll talk about in a little bit, because the microbiome and the makeup of the microbiome is also made up of genes. In fact, more genes than the human body. The microbiome has more genes expressed and affected than the human body. So this brings up a whole other topic about our microbiome and the genetic makeup of that. Breastfeeding or not, and the bond with the mother at the beginning of life. So none of this probably surprises you, but it's interesting to start thinking about our epigenetic potential. So I often consider wellness and emotion now as optimizing our epigenetic potential because we work with lifestyle factors. Let's look at some general external environmental issues. Climate, urban versus a rural setting, traffic, and wider influences, economic, whether somebody is struggling financially, their social status, education status, stress, these all have potential impact on our bodies and our mental and emotional state, which then can be what the genome, imagine you're just being bathed in all of these environmental factors. And then internal biological factors. I talked about the microbiome. Well, the health of the microbiome has a huge impact on epigenetic potential, and optimizing the microbiome by increasing diversity is so important. Our hormonal fluctuations have an impact, and stress, which is basically the precursor of inflammation, the amount of inflammation in the body. So all I'm doing is trying to awaken you to the power that we have to make changes at the genome level, can you believe? So lifestyle factors can actually impact switching on or switching off genes. So the epigenome is where the genes and the exposome meet, basically where the genes and your environment is the epigenome. So I would like to redefine health promotion as maximizing, optimizing your epigenetic potential, and the epigenome is where it's all happening. So let's talk about the microbiome, which is these microbes that are living inside of us. In fact, we're only 5% human. 67% of us are bacteria and 8% are fungal. And these live in commensal partnership together. All different bacteria and fungi and microbes are all living like a rainforest, an ecosystem inside of us, and provide hugely important factors. So the big question is, are we really human? And it turns out that all the genes of the microbiome is called your second genome. So I can't talk about epigenetics without talking about your second genome, which is all the genes that make up your microbiome. 3.3 million extra genes from the microbiome, a ratio of about 150 microbial to one gene. And in fact, the genetic potential of that microbiome has been referred to as your second genome. Now, this is really new science, and every branch of medicine is trying to grasp the impact of this, and all kinds of research that's being done in looking at the microbiome. So 10 to 100 trillion microbial cells living inside all kinds of different species, and 10 times more microbial cells than human cells, and 50 more microbial genes than human genes. It's just amazing. And we're just wondering, how can we optimize the microbiome? So one thing we can is increase the diversity of our microbiome, and through stress and pollution and processed food and sleep deprivation and all kinds of antibiotic and other pharmaceutical use in our lifetime, which often is essential, it has impacted our microbiome. And so we want to optimize the diversity of our microbiome by doing wonderful things that are appearing in the Gut Matters ebook. And that's why I focus so much on gut health, because when you optimize gut health, you truly are optimizing the entire system of your body. So I know that's a lot of information. And all I wanted to do was bring up that concept of epigenetics and the microbiome and your exposome, the fact that everything we do in our life has an impact, bathing our whole genetic makeup. So our genes are listening to everything we are thinking and feeling and doing and exposing ourselves to. And certain genes we do want switched on that maybe are detoxification genes, and genes we might want switched off. And the whole area of genetic testing and looking at lifestyle factors and SNPs, these are little changes in our DNA, little like alphabet changes where there's just one little letter. It's called a SNP. And there are certain SNPs we want switched, certain we want switched off. And that is the new era of genetic testing, where we can actually place wellness programs based on what we're finding in that genetic testing. So I hope I've just sparked interest in you, and that this has been helpful just to help you realize that thing you do, following an anti-inflammatory lifestyle and optimizing your gut, is helping your genetic destiny. Yes, it is. And certainly continuing on with an anti-inflammatory lifestyle and including what we eat and supporting our gut with good digestive enzymes and probiotics, and eating food that is as close to nature as possible, is really helping with our genetic. So it's been fun to be with you, and that's all I got for now. Bye.